Hi guys, this is the third part of documentary that I was making. Material was collected for several years, as you know, but still many evidences coming up each and every day. So this walk was like an ordinary walk towards Kremlin. I was supposed to film some evidence there, and I started to film right away from the Kudzinskaya Square. As you guys can see, plenty of buried windows. In fact, those buildings look like Tartarian style and antique style. We see the signs of rebuilding, that it was different than it was before, and it looks like some buildings don't have those buried windows, but if you check when they were building, they were built in the end of 19th century. That's why those buildings don't have those buried windows, although they look like neo-Russian style, so-called neo-Russian style. Right now it's an embassy of Brazil. As we walk forward, we can see another great building, replaced or bricked up window in the corner. And plenty of buildings like this when you see totally excavated first floor, and even they make an entrance after renovation so people can use those ground floors, which were actually buried with this mud flood of 19th century. But people criticize, sometimes they say that mud flood doesn't fit in what we see, that it's better to be called a dust bowl. Well, I'm not quite arguing about that. If you have indisputable proof of a dust bowl, just send me a link, I'll check it out and probably say a couple of words about it. As you guys know, I made a video about mud flood signs. If you haven't watched it, just check it out to understand what are the mud flood signs, because people sometimes take those buried windows like everywhere, because sometimes it's just a basement floor. So the mud flood signs are a replacement of the window and creating a door like here. Also, if you can walk in, you can go and go downstairs and check out by yourself. So you should see some bricked up windows, bricked up doors leading to nowhere. Well, I'm not gonna just mention all those signs right now. Just go and check out the video so you can say what I'm talking about. And the Tartarian style is not always the Tartarian style also. So people think about calling each and every building a Tartarian style. At least at 17th, 19th century, we have this 200 years of guessing. So that's why I'm concerned about 19th century, because at least we have some pictures, photo pictures, not only paintings. It could be painted easily. It's a funny thing that about 2-3 years ago nobody was talking about it, except maybe a couple guys in Russia. So we're researching this topic since like 3 years ago, very deep, and it came from start from my own home city when I knew this building was what it was. I was walking around it each and every day when I was going home, and I knew that building, and they excavated it, and I saw those buried windows and doors and bricked up right now. So right now I'm walking in Moscow and watching all the same evidence. So those are trying to confuse us and say that it's not a mud flood or it's a dust bowl or whatever, we don't care what's the case. Actually, it's no problem for us. But in the second part, I tried to start to explain what I'm talking about when I'm talking about mining and fracking. So those red brick buildings are like everywhere in Russia. We have them in a bunch of towns and bunch of cities, and most of them have underground 2-3 buried floors, and in fact very strange architecture. Of course you can find a bunch of buildings like this in Moscow. Sometimes people just don't care, they walk around and just like I was back when I was in Omsk, my home city. Moscow has a bunch of bricks buildings, and most of them have replacement in windows. As you can see from the side of those buildings, we have brick windows also, and replaced windows which are different size and they look really strange. But if you walk around, this is across the street, but if you walk around these buildings, you can understand that they were rebuilt a couple of times, at least a couple of times, and you also can find those buried windows which are now used as a basement floors, and sometimes we have like 2, 3, 4 basement floors. That's why I was going to Kremlin to check out any evidence of that. Couple of new channels in English segment of YouTube showing a bunch of new videos in different countries, different towns, different cities. So it's not just in Moscow, as you can see, but Moscow has plenty of it, plenty. It's one of the biggest cities that contains all this evidence right now. Also St. Petersburg, you might as well check my video about St. Petersburg. I hope it will be not the last one, because St. Petersburg also has a lot of evidence. And people send me videos from Denver, Kansas, Seattle, New York. I might as well do a video on that in this series with the worldwide evidence, as I was supposed to. So I was walking to Kremlin. It was kind of snowy day, as you can see. Everything was like melting, and beautiful views on ancient buildings with antique style was everywhere. So was the evidence of buried windows and reconstruction on those buildings. So I came close to Kremlin, and it was like about quarter mile to it, so I really like those buildings near the Kremlin. They have so many evidence. Most of them collect underground routes, which were probably the inner building connection pathways before, and even streets of the previous cities. But right now they are all buried and used by the commercial organizations and government. maybe also with the security of FSB and all those kind of structures. It's law enforcement and special agents, of course, that use them. You can also find museums in those buildings, so go downstairs, check this evidence out, like you can do it in Germany, in Berlin, in many different other cities. Even on the hills we have buried windows, so that's just an evidence of total excavation in Moscow. Yeah, so many years passed, so we can only guess who and when was excavated. But we've tried to open up this mystery, this Pandora box, which is really a pain in the butt of modern science or modern history. The mud flood of 19th century. In September I came here, tried to, come in, but a bunch of tourists were in the line, so I couldn't. I also tried to explain about this difference of the level. As you can see, people walking under the bridge which leads towards the tower, the entrance of the pedestrian entrance, tourist entrance, whatever you call it. Here it is. So there was a river before, now this river is on the ground. In fact, we don't know how and when it was actually done, but we see it's a brick tunnel which the river is flowing right now. And we have a bunch of pictures which Kremlin looks abandoned. So this is the tower, this is the entrance, and I was figured that I should enter and walk around the Kremlin to see if we have any evidence. In fact, I knew that there were some evidence. And this is the entrance. So I came, took my cameras so I could, film it on video and on photo. Ticket here would cost you about 15 bucks or maybe even more, I don't know. So it's like a tourist area where you can enter and have a special security, so you can get search. So check out if you don't have any prohibited items. So this is the filming of another guy who also went the same marshroute, but he had some guy who was escorting him, and he brought him inside. I was promoting this guy. His name is Evgeny Makarov. He's also a researcher of mudflood, has a bunch of subscribers in Russia. So he was, he was entering this palace, Kremlin Palace, and got downstairs a couple of floors, and he was wondering how many floors down he could get for free, because he didn't have any special permissions for that. As you can see, he was like walking around, trying to, except maybe this guy was, escorting him for some certain point and showed him those letters here. So he got three floors below and checked this door, and also saw 3 more floors down, so it's already 6. Searched the whole building and found out that at least 6 floors or even more is under this building. So the level actually explains why is it so high and why is it buried inside the Kremlin. Just because it was buried inside. So Evgeny actually stepped down 3 floors more, so it's like 6 floors underground, and he saw another door which he didn't have any permission to enter, of course. So he supposes that some more downstairs is there. As he gets out of the building, he calculated that 6 floors, at least 6 floors in this Kremlin palace are underground right now. Of course you can say it's a Soviet job, the Soviets did it, but there's many things that we should explore, because the physical evidence is what we can see is fitting in what we can observe. So my walk actually continued. I was walking through this Kremlin main square. It's an entrance square. Some administration buildings here where you cannot enter, of course. And plenty of guards here watching, looking around that nobody runs or doing something stupid. Please never do it here if you go here and visit this place. But it's all friendly and really nothing strange or weird is going on here right now. Just a bunch of historical buildings in the same place, in the same area, so tourists can pay and watch them and take some pictures, selfies and stuff like this. But no one does understand. No one understands that so many underground floors is underneath the place we're walking around. Officials do distract the tourists with those cannon expositions. It looks like people could carry those cannons with those handles or whatever. And it's really astonishing architecture. You can't just believe that this was all made just for praying. And so we're on the way to continue the research on the ancient technologies and ancient wireless energy sources. And this is the Tsar Cannon. It's a mortar type. They say it was, in use, but I doubt. I think it's decorative and never was used. Or maybe they lied to us and it was used for something else. Tsar bell, one of the biggest bells I've ever seen, maybe the biggest one. In fact, they say it's the hugest one, but who knows? Was it working, or was it just a toy for some? Or was it just a gigantic bell from an ancient tower or something like this? Maybe this whole area is just the ruins of the ancient temple. And this is me, in fact, I'm picturing it. There was a bunch of people this day, some type of Christmas activities or something. It's kind of easy to imagine how it was before, when those people in ancient times gathered here on the square, listening to what officials say, whatever. And the mass of the people is just incredible. People concentrate here. They sneak in, although the tickets are sold. They sneak in here and just, hang around, check out those sites. A bunch of churches here in the same place. So it's like huge concentrated area of ancient artifacts. And all those buildings are some type of museums or something like this. And I should come back here in the summer and film some inside evidence. As you can see, some buried windows also could be seen. Another pathetic bell exposition here. And here is the end of Kremlin Square. This is an embankment. In fact, it's a view on the river. And here's this palace that Evgeny was walking around. He also made a video a year ago, something like this, about the signs of the mud flood in Kremlin. And he was showing all this dirt inside, all this mud, and it looks like pretty much wet walls and stuff like this, and level of flooding and excavation is, as he can say, is seen. Strange marks on the wall show us that maybe the walls were wet. Also, the windows look weird, and those stones look like an old pavement or some constructions that were ruined. So just cleaning up the streets like this. In fact, in the 1884, this picture was made. And it looks pretty much cleaned up already. It's all leveled, 1884, and 6 years before we have another picture when we see the excavation right there in the same place. Probably 4 to 5 feet of excavated was proceeded there, and it's not enough to say just it was done perfectly. As you can see, there's still more mud underneath. So look at this compared to the human man's height, right? 4 feet at least. So probably was done in different stages, so it's like you cannot just excavate the whole area at the same time. So you like split the job for a couple of stages, so nobody can, actually figure out what was going on. This is the exact place where it was performed, and that's the palace Evgeny was walking around. As you can see, the level, it's like maybe 6th floor building. So no wonder he found at least 6 floors underneath. We can see one buried floor here also on the front line. That's a heck of a hill, you can say. But who knows what it actually was before. At least the undergrounds are not hidden from us, and some still can visualize them if they can enter. So it's the end of this part of Kremlin. We should come back, and also gonna show you some pictures from this walk with maybe some more specific details. As you can see, you also can see buried windows and signs of different reconstruction. From one side it's just an ordinary building, from the other side it looks like it's not even solid enough because they have those walls in pyramid form so they can support. As I've promised, a couple of detailed pictures, a little slideshow in the end. So this is where it ends. I'm coming out of this Spasskaya tower with the clock, with a bunch of interesting information about the clock. It's coming up in some next videos, maybe as soon as I can be done with Star Force, which is the part number 4, is the documentary. You understand how all those fortresses like Kremlin and many different Star Force could be connected to the mudflat, fracking, mining, and gas. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you later, guys.